Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattox, a proud member of the Craftsman Online Media Network.
So we talked in our more recent episode about identity, and a couple weeks ago we were talking about belief and all that good stuff. One of the things that is important that you need to kind of review or ascertain, and this is one of the hardest things to do, just as an aside, is understand faith. Now, when we talk about faith, it's very common for people to immediately go to their religion. And that's not what I'm talking about. Your religion plays into your faith, but you take a lot of things on faith that are not specifically religious. Religion isn't all encompassing. It is partially encompassing, and it's not necessarily what we want to talk about when we talk about evaluating your faith. So what is faith? Strangely enough, for most people, this sort of test should hold out. Faith is the place you stop looking. For example, let's say you believe, you take it on faith that the scientific method is a way to make sense of the world. That faith in the scientific method or faith in reason, defies any sort of further analysis. You cannot use reason to prove reason, right? You can't taste your own tongue. You can't bite your own teeth. It doesn't work that way. So when you start to look at faith as a thing, it's really bizarre because it's the place that essentially defies any meaningful further inquiry. And so when you start looking at this or trying to look at it, it tends to get slippery. And you say, well, what am I going to do now? This thing that is central to an expression of my identity that I have kind of figured out, like I am someone who has faith, these faiths, take this on faith. You'll notice a couple of other things. Faith is kind of amorphous. It doesn't have handy, easy to grab edges. Because it's the place you no longer look, it's hard to really understand where it starts and stops. So let's take religion, for example. Your religion's going to have a bunch of things that it talks about in terms of the way the world works. Some of those things that we take on faith that are embedded in our religion don't withstand meaningful inquiry from a different perspective. So I can't, when you look at you take it on faith that like science is the way, science and some of the religious contexts don't necessarily mash up very well. So what you'll note fairly quickly is it's difficult to have concepts that you take on faith that are in competition with each other. One of them always tends to be the boss. Some concept in your faith, some axiomatic truth, some underlying principle in your faith is going to be the boss belief or the boss concept. That overriding concept will essentially prevent inquiry into pretty much whole domains of the human experience. So there are ways to get around this so you can, again, meaningfully understand it. In order for you to be successful as an individual, the better you understand yourself and your concepts and your beliefs and your behaviors and your identity and your values, the better you understand these things, the more likely you are to gain some level of agentic control in the world around you, which will allow you to create better outcomes for you and those you care about. So the more you can look into this kind of faith stuff, find out the places, the corners you don't want to look in, find out where you have to, you're starting to accept that, like, I'm not going to dig any further. And then from there, work to rewrite the story of your identity so that you know where it is you're no longer going to look, or where in some contexts it's turtles all the way down kind of thing. There's an old story about that, and you can look it up on the internet. Just type in turtles all the way down and you'll get the story about the way that works. The sort of underpinning here for us, though, as free thinking individuals trying to become better, is don't leave faith kind of in the unexamined, unexplored pile. The more you know about it, the more you know about your own, the more you understand how your faith interplays with your identity, your beliefs, and your values, the more likely you are to get better control over the outcomes you're trying to create in your life.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at amasonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.